You may remember we started in on a series that we're going to do for a few weeks on the fruit of the Spirit, which is a description of the kind of character that God wants His people to have. It's listed in Galatians chapter 5. You might want to check out last week's video to get a little intro to this section and to get an idea of what the message is and how this is about building a whole character that manifests in various ways that are going to be lined up with the character of God Himself. We're going to talk about the first component of a life that is grown by the Spirit and therefore is born the fruit of the Spirit, and that is love. The fruit of the Spirit is love. Love is the most sought after thing in our world. It's what everybody wants. Over the years, just like you, I've met a lot of really broken-hearted people. And I'm telling you, every single one of them, at some point, usually sooner rather than later, they get around to telling them the reason why their heart is broken. Why they're angry, why they're bitter, why they went into drugs, why they're living a life of prostitution, why they're obsessed with making more money, why they can't make friends, why they're depressed, whatever it is, it always goes back to a loss of love. Their parents were never there for them. Their parents split up and they thought they were the reason. Somebody who pledged their life to them before or after they said their actual wedding vows broke their heart and betrayed them. Nobody ever was their friend. Whatever it is, everybody craves love, and it cripples people when they don't have love. Which makes sense, because God is love. That's what the Apostle John said in 1 John chapter 4. On a fundamental core level, the character of God is love. Love is what birthed the universe. Love is what brought about the nature of human beings and humankind and human relations. Love is what drove God to do everything that He did throughout history, of revealing Himself, of telling people what's true and what's right, of trying to help us, save us from ourselves with His wisdom, of telling us about Jesus and sending Jesus. All that stuff, it's out of love. So yeah, the fruit of the Spirit is love. What does that mean for you and me? Well, like all things, we learn about the nature of God, the life that the Spirit is producing within those who are following Jesus, through Jesus Himself, who bore the Spirit of God perfectly and demonstrated the character of God perfectly in the flesh. Whenever you think about the life of Jesus, and by the way, if you don't really know much about Jesus, maybe somebody sent you this video, maybe you accidentally clicked on it and you haven't clicked away yet, thanks for continuing to watch. I'm going to tell you, you need to shut this video down and just go read the Gospels. Pick up the Gospel of Luke, pick up the Gospel of John, Matthew, Mark, doesn't matter. Pick up one of them, start reading. And when you read, you're going to find a lot of things about Jesus' love. You're going to see Him taking care of those who are poor. You're going to see Him showing compassion to people who are in need and who are hurting. You're going to see Him condemn injustice and mistreatment of those who are in trouble. You're going to see Him die on a cross and beg for forgiveness for His enemies. You're going to see Him care about His mom and women who were upset for Him and His pain. He's all love. But the other thing you're going to see is that His love was not a theoretical love. It wasn't a love that was felt either. It wasn't a love that He spoke in word. It was a love that He practiced in deed. Jesus loved us enough to come to earth, leaving heaven. That's the story of the gospel. Jesus loved enough to live a full human life. All the bumps and bruises of it, living a poor man's life, essentially a working man's life, just like everybody else. Jesus loved through loss. He had friends who died. Jesus loved through rejection and through abuse and through mistreatment. One of my favorite portraits of Jesus' love that helps us understand what it means to walk by the Spirit, which by the way has this very ethereal, like spirit. People talk about spiritual warfare and power of the Spirit. Look, there is spiritual warfare. But spiritual warfare is resisting your flesh. Fundamentally, it's resisting your flesh and living in the character of Jesus. And here's what Jesus' love looked like. Here's what it looks like to walk by the Spirit. Jesus, the night before He would be betrayed, the night He was betrayed, before He would be executed on the cross. The text says in John 13 that He loved His own who were in the world, and He loved them to the end. And during the meal that He and His disciples were sharing in, He got up put off his garments, that he was there at this nice fancy dinner, or fancy by their standards, I guess. He put off his outer garment, and he took a towel, and he wrapped the towel around his waist. And he got down on his hands and knees, and he started washing the feet of his disciples. They were completely baffled by what was going on. And at the end of it, Jesus told them that this was a lesson for how they were supposed to live. They weren't supposed to live a life of just receiving love, or just feeling love, or talking about love, or complaining when they didn't have love, or saying that love was important, or something like that. Jesus said, you're going to follow me. If you're going to share in my spirit, if you're going to be one of my disciples, the fruit of that discipleship means that you're going to get down on your hands and knees. You're going to get dirty. When other people are having troubles, you're going to be the one that puts your hands down in the filth with them. You're going to be the one who lifts up the people who are broken and battered and just destroyed by the world. You got to be the one who loves in this way. And here's what he said in John 13 and verse 34. A new commandment that I give you. Love one another. You might say, that doesn't sound new. People have been saying that for a long time, Jesus, way before you showed up. Not like this, though. Just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. And this is the mark of the Spirit-led people. This is the mark of the people who belong to God. This is the mark of the followers of Jesus. Jesus said, by this kind of love, walking in my Spirit, bearing this fruit, the fruit that manifests as love, by this all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Love that sacrifices. Love that puts yourself second. Love that seeks the good of another. So let me ask you, are you walking by the Spirit? Have you crucified your flesh? Are you living in the love of Jesus?